Now, Barbarian is one of the best magic finders in the entire game, thanks to that good old item find skill. So whether you're thinking about trying Barbarian, or maybe you're playing Barbarian already and you're thinking about swapping up your build, you're in the right place today, folks, because we're going over the 5 best Barbarian builds in Diablo 2 Resurrected. Now, as we jump into talking about my big dog right over here, just a couple of super important notes. This is about generally softcore builds. So talking about hardcore, that's not really my forte. And there's a much smaller community that does play hardcore instead of softcore. And also, this is not discussing about PvP builds, because once again, a much tinier community that does that, rather than people that just go out and try to level up, have a good time, find better gear, etc., etc. Also, these aren't full build guides, so links in the description if I have full build guides to any of these builds, and some of them may be coming here in the near future. For the first of these 5 barbarians, I'm going to start off with one that I think is the most interesting. It's probably one that a lot of people have never played before, since in Diablo 2 it wasn't that great, but now in Diablo 2 Resurrected, kind of in some more of the recent patches, it got a big boost, a big balancing change, and that is the Throw Barbarian. Now, while not a full build guide, just for generals here, double throw and its synergy of double swing, put one into Berserk just in case there's some physical immunes that you want to deal with that way. Over on the masteries, max out throw masteries and 1-point wonders, and split your points between the find item and its synergy and battle orders, whichever way you feel is best. And just some little tips for the throwing weapons. War Shriek, Lacerator, great options to use these right here. There's a billion other options, so feel free to mix and match and use whatever you feel like. Wisdom up here, chance to pierce. You got cannot be frozen, mana after kill, attack rating, mana leech. Great option if you're on ladder or single player. Unfortunately, this is not available on non-ladder quite yet. And of course, you can throw Razor Tail down here, just like you can for the Amazon to get pierce as well. Besides that, just other things that are great for any barbarian. First place we'll show it off here. Hey, we'll head out to Eldritch and Shank. Why not? So here we actually target Eldritch and bam, ripped down. Bam, that guy ripped down, that guy ripped down. And see the area of effect, it isn't like in a circle, it's in a straight line because we have the pierce, and you go ahead and rip everything down. Now, don't forget, take advantage of that find item skill if you are on a barbarian. You got to, am I right? Come down outside the circle, go ahead and rip out Shank the Overseer as well, super quick. Now, this is just a super easy place to test it, but you can use it in a ton of places. Barbs are good, super unique farmers, and this is no exception. We go ahead and take advantage of that Berserk skill right here. You see he was immune to physical, and he has stone skin, so you can chop him that way, or you do have that Decrepify proc that is actually on the Lacerator, actually amp damage, excuse me, so that can kind of rip out that physical immune as well. And then just like any barbarian, it's also pretty dang good here down in the pits. Go ahead and chop out these champions, find everything you want, head this thing out to Trav. Pretty much the same areas any barbarian's good. This thing will rock just the same. Now up next, we'll jump into an absolute classic. A lot of people have probably played it, but if you haven't, feel free to try this one out. It works absolutely spectacularly, and it's been used for so long for good reason. You see, we got a couple swords right there, and this is the Whirlwind Barbarian. Quick skill overview, go ahead and pump all your points into Whirlwind, 20 points right here, and it's got no synergies. Once again, you might as well put 1 point into Berserk to go ahead, just to deal with physical immunes. We're using swords on this build, so Blade Mastery with the 1-point wonders, and the same thing as before, pump your points into battle orders and find item and its synergy in whichever way you feel is best. I decided to rock dual griefs, but once again, a bunch of different options for the swords, more budget versions, or just other versions that people prefer, and then just the standard barbarian type of gear, laying of hands, gore riders, Ariad's face. And hopping out, once again, Eldritch and Shank, just an easy place to go ahead and test it out. And there's a reason this one has been tried, tested, and true for so long. Look at that thing, it just absolutely ripped down the pack right here. And of course, as before, make sure you take advantage of that find item skill, giving you a second chance at drops. This build is really, really great. Even with budget gear, it's one of the best options. So if you have not used this one before, maybe you're just not that experienced with Barbarian, you haven't really used it a lot, please, I do implore you to try it out, and Whirlwind is a great option. It is well known as, well, one of the best Trav farmers due to that find item skill and just how powerful this character is. I mean, especially, let's be honest, after you get a couple of griefs, the game gets a lot easier. But man, this Whirlwind build, absolutely spectacular. I kind of love using it, especially with these dual griefs. Oh, defensive auras, but thanks, Trav. Just found this with my Whirlwind Barbarian. Now, looking at the Barbarian right here, you might think, wait, Phil, you didn't even change anything. It's the same build. Well, actually, it's not. I am utilizing the exact same gear, but now we're moving to one that once again, might be one that people have never tried before, but it is incredibly fun. Also, super quick, and that is the Frenzy Barbarian. Quick skill tree overview. So we maxed out Frenzy, and then we maxed out the synergy of Double Swing here for damage per level. Maxed out right there. Once again, Wonder Berserk just in case physical immunes. And also you do see that Taunt is a synergy. We'll talk about that in a minute. Once again, this looks exactly the same as the last one with Blade Mastery maxed out the 1-point wonders. And over here we maxed out Taunt because the synergy to Frenzy. Once again, splitting your whatever remaining points you have that you want to between battle orders and the find item and its synergy, but you don't have as many left over with this build, so just a few right there. Now, how is this build looking? Now, once you go ahead and get wound up, look how quickly you run, and you can just sprint between pack, almost not needing teleport, obviously jumping walls and things, but look how quickly you move around the map. My goodness, almost the screen is in a blur. You're running so fast. Chop, 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 and once again, don't forget, take advantage of the find item skill. Obviously, I would clear out all the monsters, but just for example purposes, went ahead and showed you right there. So you can kind of see the kill speed and just the speed that it swings at. On top of that, let's get into a little bit more open area, and I'm going to show you one of the crazy advantages to playing this particular build, and just how easy it really is. So here we are in a straight line, and let's go ahead and see how good I can be at playing this build. You don't even have to look. All you do is hold down. I'm just holding down the F1 key. Quick cast to hold it down to go ahead and attack. And really, you don't even have to look. If you're in the right direction that monsters are, you can just not even look. Eyes closed. And it'll just keep swinging away and running in that direction and attacking monsters. It really is probably one of the easiest builds to play in the entire game. You just hold down F1 or hold down the right click button or whatever you have Frenzy on. Chop, 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 and moving along. And like I noted, this is definitely one of the builds that you can utilize without having Enigma. So I know getting some of those super high runes is going to be a problem. Now the damage isn't going to be as good if you don't have the dual griefs, obviously, because grief is awesome. But you sprint around so fast, the movement speed can be great on this barbarian. But how does it work against something that has larger health pool, maybe act bosses or something like that? Well, chop, 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 chop. Later, Diablo. This can even be used as something like an Uber farmer. I've done it before. Obviously, you're going to use life tap, but as long as you keep swinging, you can kind of stay alive. So now we're looking at a barbarian holding 2 flails of some kinds. Now, so we're going to be attacking with these flails, right, Phil? Well, no, we're actually not. This is a character that never actually swings his weapons at the monsters. It's a caster. I know, it blows people's minds sometimes, but we're talking about the Singer Barbarian. Now, it looks really funny compared to the other barbarians. You put nothing into combat skills because you're not actually engaging in attacking that type of combat. So looking over at the masteries, we're not actually attacking with the weapon, so you don't need any in the mastery skills. Just the 1-point wonders here, but we're actually utilizing Warcry down here to deal all of our damage. So cap that and all 3 of its synergies if you can. Boom, boom, boom right here. And then I went ahead and put the remaining points into the synergy for find item. Now, if you want to go ahead and put them into battle orders, I'll completely understand. But split them the way that you think is best. And yeah, we're actually utilizing dual Heart of the Oak, so you could throw Whiz Spikes over here as well, and you can actually stack up a crazy amount of Magic Find on this build, throwing a bunch of Magic Find charms down here, throwing up a Shaco, or throwing on a million different things, War Travs, Chance Guards, all over the place. Let's go ahead and put this thing to the test. Tally Stomp, Warcry, and as you can see right here, it does eat away mana, but look at how fast that small radius anyways got absolutely melted. So this is generally players 1 type of build, along with a lot of barbarians, to be perfectly honest. But you can shout them down, you got that small area effect, and then go ahead and use your find item skill. Now, it is great in all of the same locations that a lot of barbarians are, but really in the pits is one of the most well-known locations for it. Once you come down here, the monsters are incredibly weak. Go ahead and bam, 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 use your find item skill on whatever you want to, whether you're mainly going to target the champions or you're going to go ahead and go after everything. But the pits is just super weak, and you can actually slap everything down super fast, and then they can drop every single item in the game down here. You could find a Zod, you could find a Tyrael Smite, literally anything. This is one of my favorite builds in the game. This is not min-maxed perfectly, so I'm running out of mana here. If I actually had the proper gear, it wouldn't happen. But the thing is you don't have to aim. You just have to get close and then shout away, and you wait for everything to drop dead. Go ahead and use find item skill. I love builds when you just don't have to aim. All you have to do, much like horseshoes and hand grenades, all you got to do is get close. And now we'll look at one that actually, I'm only using 1 sword on this, but you can use 2, but that's kind of besides the point. Now, this particular barbarian, you actually only kill a very few small number of monsters. You actually use a skill to scare away everything, but you take out the one monster that has the best chance of dropping the best gear in the game. And right here, we're talking about the Zerker Barb. Now for the skill tree, we're obviously using the skill Berserk, and lucky enough for this build, one of the synergies is actually Battle Orders, and the other one is Howl. Two skills that you actually use all of the time on this Barbarian. Really, Battle Orders use all the time on everyone. Looking over at the masteries, we're using one sword there. So we got Blade Master right here, the 1-point wonders, and we're going to, of course, max out the synergy. So Howl and Battle Orders, but this time you don't have to worry about splitting your points between Battle Orders and Find Item and a Synergy. You just put them into Find Item and Synergy because Battle Orders is already going to be maxed out. As for gear, once again, I'm going to use Grief here, but there's going to be some other options, but Grief is just astronomically by far the best. You could put another sword over here, like a 6-isted Phase Blade or Crystal Sword. I went with the Storm Shield just to help out survivability a little bit for that, and then it's a lot of the standard Barbarian gear from that point on. And because generally this is a player's one build for scaring away and just killing one monster, you can actually usually stack up a ton of Magic Find with, like I said, the 6-isted Crystal Sword over here, the Shaco, and a bazillion Magic Find charms down in the inventory if you would like to go that route. Now this build is utilized quite a bit differently than other builds, so I'm going to try to do my best. I haven't played in a minute. So you teleport around, you find the champion packs, but then there'll be other monsters around too that you don't really want to fight all of them. So what you go up do and you actually use the Howl skill, scare away everything that is not the ones you want to do. Telestomp. My mercenary actually went ahead and took him out so fast, but we'll get a better example on another group right here. Howl everything away, boom, and then you actually use Berserk and chop, and really it only takes one hit. Here we go, Howl. My mercenary killed him, and that's perfectly fine if your mercenary is killing him super quick as well. If you howl away all the other monsters, you're going to go ahead and only have one monster left for your mercenary to target, right? But you don't worry too much about if you're killing the monster or if your mercenary is, am I right, fellas? As long as the monster is getting taken out, that's the most important thing. Try a little bit more here. We'll howl away them. There's a champion, boom, ripped out, item find, move on. Howl, chop, item find, move on, howl, chop. Get the right weapon out, chop, item find, move on. And that's kind of the general strategy. This is known as the literal best magic finder in the entire game because you can stack so much magic find, you can kill the champions so quick, which the champions can drop every single item in the entire game. So that's kind of the reason why that is. So if you're trying to complete a Holy Grail, this is the absolute go-to build that you're going to want to use. Zerker Barb, not only limited to the pits, you can come out here to Trav as well, and it works really good here. This is a very common way to start ladder, to come out here and to chop down Trav in absolutely no time. Go ahead and whip your find item skill out, and you go ahead and pork all these bodies and hope for the best. Rinse and repeat.